Welcome to St David's evening reflection. Can't actually see me tonight, so hopefully that won't distract you. In fact, that's the whole idea, that you can just focus on the words and the music and the images, and so reflect and meditate without me getting in the way, hopefully. So the God of peace be with you. The reflection tonight is based on Matthew chapter 18, verses 21 to 35. I said last week that we're trying for these not to be particularly religious, but we're not trying to cover up the fact that this is Christian and part of that tradition. Just hoping that people will listen to it with different ears and less preconceptions, if you like. Though the theme for tonight and for this week is one that you can't not associate with Christianity, and that's the theme of forgiveness. But what we're talking about this week is actually how difficult it is. It's a powerful, powerful thing, and very often it's the key thing that attracts people to Christianity. And yet, how shall we say, it's not very trendy, is it, to forgive? What Christians call repentance, turning, changing direction, saying sorry, if you like, that's quite trendy, though repentance doesn't mean really just saying sorry. It means to actually change direction. And there'll be more about that during the week in the reflections. But tonight, I simply want to ask some questions about forgiveness, and then spend the rest of the time, probably a bit longer than normal, without words, trying to practice forgiveness. One of the reasons we struggle with it so hard is that it's not something that is ingrained within us. It's not a habit for most people. Hanging on to criticism and hurt and resentment, that's much easier to do. Much more painful, but much easier to do. It's ironic, isn't it? So, why is forgiveness difficult? Well, I suspect that one of the reasons is that we just don't really want to do it, because it's not fair. That person has done something wrong, they should have to pay for it. One of the reasons that doesn't work is that if we apply that to ourselves, and actually we often do, we find that we have to do the paying. But that's not really what we want to happen deep down. We want the other to do the paying. In actual fact, forgiveness means that no one has to pay, which is the most amazing, wonderful thing. Because if the other person doesn't have to pay, you don't have to pay either. It does work both ways, of course. If you have to pay, they have to pay. And if you don't have to pay, then they shouldn't have to pay either. The place, therefore, generally to start in your practice of forgiveness, in your practice of setting yourself free, which is really what forgiveness is all about. As long as you don't forgive somebody, they have power over you. They have power that you give them to hurt you, to make you feel bad. Sometimes it feels like they've sort of trained us up to do that. But the good news is that we actually do have a choice. It's a choice to go down a road, a pathway. It's not like flicking on a light switch. Forgiveness is about changing your direction and walking that way so that you get further and further away from that which you weren't able to let go of until it in actual fact becomes out of sight. There's a lovely little picture in the scriptures that talk about taking these things and throwing them away from you as far as the east is from the west. But you have to start. With yourself, making the choice to forgive. Perhaps the easiest place is to forgive yourself first, though for some people that's a lot harder, and then forgive the others. The principle we work with here is, in fact, we love because we were loved first, and forgive because we are forgiven first. So you might like to use the phrase, just, I forgive myself. Now, these phrases can sound and feel a bit difficult when we start off with them. And yet, the act of faith involved in actually saying them, either in your head or out loud, but actually using those words, is very powerful. And the change can't happen without that. 90% of the feelings we have are triggered by the thoughts in our head. So even if we put a thought in our head that might be faking it until we make it, that sort of thing, it still has an effect. And today's story actually suggests that it also requires repetition. and as many repetitions as you need to get there. The first time you say it might feel like nothing at all, but you say it until you believe it. Of course, if you're very game, you might think of a person or a situation and start working on forgiving that. You'll know that you're getting somewhere when you feel differently about that situation than you have before. It may take a long time, so just bear in mind, whatever you choose, know that you personally are forgiven, that you are freed. All you need to do to access that is to believe it. And the start of belief is by saying the words, I forgive. Fill in the blank. Have a good week of forgiving, and peace go with you.